From shipping, to selling, to marketing, to responses, to currencies. It's the first thing that stops people creating stuff illegitimately. When we print money, we create stuff illegitimately. It needs to be earned. That's why Bitcoin is the future. And you should be buying Bitcoin every week. And I love it when it drops. Because it's getting out all the people that don't believe in it. So, Internet of Things. This is really devices, which are mini robots, that take input and they make things happen via a network. Connected or online. Anyone here have something like Smart Things? Smart Things is cool. It's a company that Samsung bought for $85 million. They were the pioneers in a common open platform for Z-Wave, Bluetooth, Zigbee. Anyone knows the little Nest thermostat that Google has? That's Zigbee-based technology. So, Smart Things, so these devices up there, really, really good stuff. Amazon now has brought it into a new level. The Amazon devices and the Google devices now allow you to talk to those devices. So you can give them instructions to do things like bring your blinds down, power your lights on, turn your TVs, change your humidity, whatever you want. This is a big thing, but not just for consumers, not just for people. But this is when people start realizing how big it is as it enters their homes. These two, behind them, is big data. Big data is worthless. Having data, but no insights in the data is worth nothing. So everyone keeps saying big data, big data, big data. Unless you can do something with that big data, it's just numbers. So they need to stop quoting big data as this huge future. We work with so many companies that collect big data but can do nothing with it. You need to turn big data into actionable insights. Actionable insights. You have to do something with that information. IBM Watson, phenomenal system. Little thing about technology, a few years ago, IBM announced that they managed to connect what amounted to 2.2 billion neurons, virtual neurons, with synapses between them. So our brain is basically a whole bunch of neurons and synapses. And IBM announced that they actually created this huge connection of 2.2 billion neurons. And it was in about 20,000 square foot of server rooms, 80 people. And everyone went, wow, that's fantastic. Well, that's about the same size as a fly's brain. So we're quite a far way away. By the way, with a fly, if you approach it from two sides exactly, it doesn't know what to do. It's how dumb it is. That's what IBM was producing in this massive building. We've made massive leaps and bounds. Google DeepMind, interesting with Sudoku, not Sudoku, Go. IBM Watson, one of the first times when Kasparov got beaten by what was called Deep Blue at that stage, there were 31 engineers tweaking the computers to play. And they ended up drawing. One of the big things about this is knowing what not to do versus what to do, and the human mind is a lot better at that, but we're getting there. 3D printing. This, to me, is a combination of that, and the physical. It brings those virtual technologies into the physical world. I have about 12 different 3D printers, and I have 3D lasers, and I love playing with this stuff. Recently, not sure if anyone knew, we're now doing 3D printing of houses. 24 hours to print that house. Big machine, just lays cement. The beautiful thing about the concept of 3D printers is really two types. Something we've had for years, everyone refers to CNC, it's called subtractive. And what subtractive is we actually cut holes in something. And additive is where we add something to something else. Now in the printing world, we basically had, our screens are basically additive and our printers are subtractive. What I mean by that is you start with a white piece of paper and you add lots of ink to it. But our screen starts off, you cover the white with the colors, so you're basically subtracting light. Our screens, on the other hand, they use a thing called RGB, this is CMYK. Our screens use RGB, it's the exact opposite because we start off with nothing and we add color to it. So it's additive. So it's a very similar paradigm. What's interesting about these is they're starting to merge. I've got two devices at home that actually do everything. They do the scanning, they do the printing, and they do the cutting, all in one. And we're seeing this on a massive scale. If you go to YouTube, you can see people are building these on the size of a room. So we've got these 3D printers that are printing themselves. So there's some really interesting stuff happening. But the best part about it is the materials we can now print. So we can print wood that is stronger than wood. We can actually bind aluminum stronger than the current aluminum, and we can even now print in stainless steel. This is printed. What that means is the future of Home Depot and Lowe's, when you need a specific bolt or nut or angle, you'll print it. And if you want something bigger printed, you will send it to Home Depot and pick it up where it's printed. The world is going to change. This is manufacturing without humans. Massive, massive, massive disruption. And this is my favorite. This my favorite is the best. But Boston Dynamics, everyone seen that funny little yellow dog that runs up to the camera on YouTube? I should have actually brought it straight, but very big, clever, cool little tech. Looks like a dog that's got its legs backwards. Cool. But Boston Dynamics was bought by Alphabet, which is Google's parent, and they recently spun out again. But they've been mainly focused around military. What was great about the Google acquisition is it forced them to focus on the consumer, which is good. We've got robotics that fly you around. In most cars nowadays will drive you around. Not fully good enough. This is a quadricopter. It's actually it's an octocopter that will actually fly two people fully autonomously to wherever they need to go within 120 miles. It's the future of transport. What's really interesting about this little chart, Honda has been one of the biggest investors in robotics. If we look at the mainframe days, computers started off small and became bigger as they became more powerful, filling rooms. And then as specific tipping points started happening, they became smaller and more powerful. We're seeing the same with robotics. And what Honda just released at CES last year, and you're going to see some new stuff happening, was 4 robots. Sorry, was actually soon. I'm going too fast. 4 robots. Cool. This is my favorite. It's a lithium-ion-based ATV. So Honda manufactures ATV. They've got a huge competitive advantage. They do cars, they do everything. They're also one of my clients. I love them. This device is GPS-enabled, fully accurate, and it has connections to pick fruit, to pull mowers. How many of you hate mowing your lawn? I do. This will pull your mower behind for you. It will actually connect itself to the lawnmower. You have them interact, it will reverse, grab the lawnmower. You want to seed, it will do that. You want to water, it will do that. So everything from small agriculture to big, thousands of these little guys doing the jobs for you simultaneously. Rather than one $300,000 combine harvester, these things at $3,000 a pop, you can get 100 of them, and they'll do way more work than that one combine harvester. This is going to be one of the biggest disruptions. Everyone's seen what Tesla has done at a company called Nikolai? By the way, you should go look at Nikolai, really cool company. We're seeing now the displacement of jobs at professional levels. Robotics can do surgery better than some of the best surgeons we have. And typical surgeons can make about $1.8 to $4 million a year. Got a computer doing that now. That computer that you're seeing there is $11 million. I can amortize that over 4 years and completely profitable from that point on. And as it gets templates or programs or scripts, you can do better. You can also kill someone, which is sad. But this is very interesting. This little robot here is 4.2 foot high, and it's squishy. And it has all the human facial expressions. It's designed to be a companion to kids with problems, old age folks. It's squishy, you can hug it, and it responds, and it makes funny little beeps and burps and stuff. And it rolls around and wobbles, and they've done a phenomenal job to make it a companion, to watch old people falling down and breaking hips or whatever. So Honda released 4 robots. There's another one that is designed to small businesses. It's a cart that drives itself. You push a button, the roof comes up, and you can have inside it everything from cookers. So if you think of the little street stalls, all the way through to exhibitions. So Honda's doing some phenomenal stuff. Really great company. I've only got like 3 minutes left. So the other thing that we believe is connected content. And what do I mean by connected content? Well, right now, the whole world is hand-braked. It's hand-braked by this concept of files and folders. The minute you get to a file, like a PDF, you can't drill more into it. It dies on that file. And everyone stores things in folders. So those folders have moved to the cloud by Google Drive and Microsoft OneDrive and all these companies. You can put your files in the folder, but you can't from the file go get more information. And the future of this is really connected information, following the paradigm of XML. XML existed long before the internet, ironically enough. HTML as we see it today is a derivative of XML, which was used by Tim Berners-Lee and by Mark Anderson to actually create a framework to display information on this network called the internet. So the hardware side was done. Bob Metcalfe and those folks figured that out. The networking side, Tim Berners-Lee, and the display side, Mark Anderson and his crowd. That's what built the internet as we know it today. And that concept of XML was phenomenal because it has references to information throughout it. But Word doesn't have that. Yes, you can embed something in Word, but the minute the document is downloaded on your machine, it's dead. The world has to become a concept of connected content. How much time? That's it. Okay, so I'm not going to show you anything yet, but any questions?
Has Evernote taken that you were just talking about to the next level?
So Evernote's actually a good company. What they do is they allow you to create lists, and humans live on lists. We all list with lists of our goals, our list of our shopping list, our projects we're working on, the tasks we're doing. Everything's lists. The lists are fantastic. And once again, Evernote actually creates this proprietary format of lists that doesn't actually connect outwards. So we see the future, the biggest disruption opportunity, is taking what the Google Drives of this world do and what the Evernotes of this world do, and actually providing intelligence behind them. So I'll give you a good example. What that little example I just showed is when I go to the vet, the doctor does the vet does a diagnosis of my dog, and I get that document, I snap it, and I stuff it into my dog's timeline. At any point in time, I can go to that dog's timeline, but that dog then has criteria. It, for example, has a gallery of photos. So instead of having my photos on Google Photo, they actually can exist anywhere in the web. They can exist on Google Photos. There can be videos of my dog on YouTube. They're all connected, and from that photo, I can see where the photo was taken. I can jump to the Bahamas, and from the Bahamas, I actually have access to marinas, and this is what this thing shows here. So, for example, so here's my pets at the time of my pets. I have my animals in it. Wolf is one of my dogs, which is a Dasher, particular Dashers. I get access to all of Wikipedia and other content on Dashers, which is videos and forums. But I can also go to Wolf and I can go to her timeline. I can see her rabies shot, and I've got it there if I need to do it when I bring her into the Bahamas. When I can see the vet visits. In her timeline is her in the Bahamas, which is a location to the Abaco Bahamas, which shows me the marinas and the best beaches. So it's connected content. What Google does really well is index the world's information. But you can't find a house on Google. Why? Because Google doesn't allow you to search by zip code and address. You can find a realtor site with search. That's one of the biggest industries. You can't actually find a car on Google. You can find the website of a car company, and then you'll have to go look at their minivans if you want to buy a minivan. Why do you have to go to cars.com or eBay Motors? Because they know how to organize information by make, model, trim, year, zip code, etc. You can't actually find products on Google. Go try and find a fridge. The number one criteria when you search for a fridge is width. It needs to fit into the gap in your house. Well, you can't find a fridge by width because the world's information isn't indexed and connected. So you can't find that information. We, ironically enough, in this database, we have more content than Wikipedia right now. We have about 11 million products, and it's growing every single time. Every time someone adds something to their cloud, if they add information, it's community added. We've also got resources where we buy information as well. And it covers everything from books, movies, appliances, equipment, health information, fitness, absolutely everything. So it's a very unique thing. There is no easy description of what it does. Other questions?
Just a comment. My daughter, who's an engineering student in Boston, has noticed, along with her roommates, that Siri can communicate or apparently have a conversation with an Android device. Has anyone experienced this? But she's witnessed
what?
Siri, the Apple iOS voice, has been able to have a conversation with an Android device. It's kind of freaky.
That's very cool.
I'm a little nervous.
So is this, people are uploading stuff to the cloud for public distribution or linkage. Is it going to be, so it's not personal
So
storage?
it is. So what we've got is we've got what we call connected content. So you have personal clouds that can be private or public. So you can go to public cloud of your favorite wines. You can share that with everyone, saying these are the best wines to drink. And anyone can click on a wine and see which vineyard it comes from that vineyard, find other wines. They can actually get alcohol content from that alcohol content, find other wines with that alcohol content. They can find the salinity from that, find other wines. So the key is you simply are taking wine from a public cloud and putting them in yours. But you could also mark your cloud, or my favorite wines, as a private cloud and choose who to share it with.
So is it a social network or a search engine?
So it's actually called a content network. And a content network involves search. And in the case of Facebook, it's a social network. It's what we call the personal graph, say the social graph. which is how people are connected to each other from a social standpoint. What we don't have is how people are connected to the stuff they own. That's called live stuff.
I'm sorry, this might be an inappropriate question for this venue, but does live technology consider potential negative externalities of a wholly automated and systemized economy?
Let me actually ask that, because it's a fantastic question. One of the really, really interesting things I say, if we want to create jobs in America, we should make it illegal to own a car. So what they would do is require everyone to have someone drive them around, to carry stuff on their back. The beautiful thing about society is we produce more with less. And it's been happening for years. The only difference that's happened in a democratic society like we have here is we changed the paradigm from two classes of people, as England and the rest of the world was, that were the landowners and the serfs. We can call them serfs, but they were in essence indentured slaves. And you were either a slave or an indentured servant. They literally were the same. Terrible, don't get me wrong. And you had these two classes. Until you could create a middle class, you couldn't do that. And by creating the middle class, we gave people the ability to use tools to do stuff. And America was the first country to do that. And as we've evolved, the reason our economy has improved, and if you read a book called Abundance by Diamandis, he talks about a phenomenal concept, which is, in America, 71% of people below the poverty line own a car. In Africa, it's not even close. So what we're seeing is poor people here are actually would be very well off in Africa. And what's happened with our society is we've given people access to be able to further themselves. And that's the most important thing. What happens is if we don't have mechanical equipment, the only thing we get is the results of our labor. But if we have the mechanical equipment, me with one combine harvester can actually toil a field that would have taken 700 people. So I can feed 900 people. One person can now feed 900. What we've also got is these great new thing, farms. New York has taken old buildings and converted them into farms. And you've seen these freight farms. Well, we don't need farm workers anymore with freight farms. Freight farms will do the same amount as 9 acres in one container. And 4 containers can be run by one person. So that's the equivalent of 36 acres of farming. Everything from greens to fish to everything. This makes a bigger impact to India, Southeast Asia, and Africa than anything else. Water right now. What is the biggest thing that we have? We have people carrying water everywhere. If we didn't have vehicles, it would be even harder. People have created great little technology systems. One of the things I invested in is a roller that has a huge barrel. Instead of women having to carry this on their shoulder, clips on the sides and they roll it. It cost us less than 60 cents to produce those massively. Less than 60 cents. You couldn't even produce in America for that price. And it changed the way things work. It gave women access to their kids more. No longer traipsing around carrying water. So technology is phenomenal. Robotics is phenomenal. If a machine can fix you, why should you have to pay a doctor $3 million? Shouldn't that be amazing that that machine can fix every one of us, including the sick people? Our healthcare costs are absolutely nuts.
What did the doctor do?
The doctor can go and do something else, and this is the beautiful thing about people. Smart people never ever. Everyone talks about, we're going to lose jobs. Go to France. Anyone been to McDonald's in France? There's an entire wall on the side with a whole bunch of little canister things and lights on it. And you want a double, I don't like McDonald's, but if you want a double cheeseburger, you put your money in, and boom, there. No staff behind the counter. Now, is that good or bad? Well, do you really want people having to work at McDonald's to serve people burgers? Shouldn't they be doing something else? Hey, there's hundreds of things they could do. Technology allows them to do that. And it's freedom, and it's good, and it's creative destruction. And never ever underestimate the power of that.
Wayne will be staying with us for afterwards to help engage you in any conversation. So please give a... He's fascinating. Now, just as fascinating is going to be our next speaker, who had developed a stunningly prescient business concept a couple of years ago. Several months later, he was reduced to sending Hail Mary emails to Jeff Bezos and Mark Cuban. He had exhausted his enormous list of VC companies gleaned from the internet and was very much concerned that his perfectly disruptive 61-page business plan was going to have to be renamed the best business plan never launched. It was around this time that he stumbled upon less. if I can. His email to him had a distinct Hail Mary flavor to it as well. Les responded quickly, and within a week, he was met at a pub in Brooklyn and blown away by the deep and thorough knowledge Les had possessed in this arcane area that Mr. Tom Kehoe will now tell you about. Please welcome Tom Kehoe.
It's a tough act to follow. Wayne's man, fascinating. What a great vision, the positive vision of the future. As I think of all those jobs that will go away, and there's going to be things for them to do that will be far better than flipping burgers. I had some great ideas of telling you about some businesses that were going to be disrupted. It was so much better than mine. Kodak, that was a good one. You might add that to your list of stuff and whatnot. However, instead of talking about all the stuff that Wayne spoke of, I'm just going to tell you a little about my business because I'm in the process of disrupting an $800 million industry. For those of you I haven't annoyed before we started this, for the past 41 years, I've been working with a company called Balfour, formerly Taylor Publishing Company. Some of you might recognize both of those names. We publish yearbooks. Balfour Taylor started in 1937. We're the oldest producers of yearbooks in the world. Right now there's 4 left. There was many more before. Four big companies that are producing yearbooks. 24 little companies who are getting into the industry because of technology. The printing press that we use commodity presses to print the material. It costs $2 million a piece, and we got a bunch of them, and everything was fun. All the big companies do. All of a sudden, the little company says, "Hey, for $36,000, I get a digital press, and now I can go ahead and run off this material for way less." The big companies have an enormous amount of infrastructure. The smaller companies don't. So they're in the process of disrupting the print industry. They're in the process of disrupting those big companies. I'm in the process of disrupting the entire industry. And there's a couple of things that I look at. I have a relationship with the top management team of my company. I'm friends with them, and we talk and whatnot. And as this industry is beginning to change, and mostly because of these small companies who come in and drop the price structure down demonstrably. When I go into my schools and I'm working with them, dealing with them, price is a huge problem. I'm having to drop, my price structure has been going backwards instead of going up and whatnot because I have to deal with these other schools. However, the big picture, the next evolutionary step in my industry, every industry that we head up on here is digital. Where is it going to go? We have topped out. The end user experience, when I say end user, the people who buy our yearbooks, that experience hasn't